It is just gone 8 o'clock Central African time. Good evening and welcome to the news bulletin at 8, brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Sunnyboy Ngongane alongside Zaman Zimanze. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We're coming to you live from our Hospital Hill studios in Babane, and these are your top stories tonight. His Majesty King Mswati III has dispersed La Kobetelago in the Shiselon region. The Prime Minister says government is working to ensure that by next year, Royal Leopards did not make it to Algeria, where they were supposed to play their second leg match against Yas Kabila in the CAF Confederations Cup. And now the news in detail. His Majesty King Mswati III has dispersed La Kobetelago in the Shiselon. From His Majesty King Mswati III, the leader of La Kobetelago, Commander Makakula, applauded the regiments for being
This marks the end of weeding in rifles, of which this particular activity follows the dispersing of Libutho by His Majesty King Mswati III at Engabezweni Royal Residence. His Majesty the King and Ingwenyama then commanded Indvuna to disperse the regiment originally. Indvuna started by dispersing the Shiseloni regiment at Mbangweni Royal Residence. This is due to the COVID-19 regulations and precautions. Giving out a directive from His Majesty, Indvuna Komendayeni Makakula said His Majesty King Mswati III and the Ingwenyama of the country has thanked La Kobetelago for the respect and for carrying out their duty successfully.
Majaha, hlonipho yenu yinhle nikombisile nekulalela nale COVID noma beyinje yesatshwa kepha ke nikombisile kuyinqoba ngani ngenhlonipho. Ngakho-ke majaha, hambani niye emakhaya nifundzise emakhaya nakubo babe ngoba sathi ngoba nememo sekwababede. Emakhaya kufundziswe umthetho wetempilo naku niphilile. Labanye bebathi hawu kunjani njanyana isocial nayo niyayenda niyawulandzela umthetho wetempilo. Nemakhaya majaha livele eMaswati liphile. Thathani inhlonipho nilandzele umthetho nambe nifundzise majaha emakhaya. Majaha inhlonipho ibanti. Lo sila nelivelongo yamangala kujolo kwenteke eveni yini. Sibatali sila kunabantu bethu bafundza. Kunabomzala bethu emakhaya sihlala nabo kepha bayaganga babulala live libinzile leni. Kufalive ngesiswati inhlonipho umuntu nakabe kuhamba nakakhulekele ekhaya uyambika hamba atiwe emphakathi lalabashisa koke ngilababuya bekuhamba babikwaphi ithi siganga sila kugangelwani ngelive. Majaha Ingwenyama ibonga kakhulu umsebenzi wenu majaha nemakani niqhubeke nenhlonipho niqhubeke nifundise abantu live ngini emaswati nakhulunywa ngesiswati umuntu nezulwini uyawungena ngelisiko lakhe hayi lama PVD lesingawathi ukuthi isiko bani.
On the news, I am Polile Mazia at Mbangweni Rural Residence.
The Prime Minister, Cleopas Lameni, says government is working to ensure that by next year roads are fixed and more people have water in the country. The Prime Minister was speaking during his tour of different development projects worth 23.8 million emalangeni at Mhlambanyatsi Ngundla, which include a service centre, a bridge and staff houses.
Residents of Mhlambanyatsi do not have to travel long distances to get government services like passports, certificates and payment of revenue services amongst others, but will now get them in their constituency. This is after the Prime Minister Cleopas Lameni officially opened a service centre at the Inkundla during his tour of different projects at the constituency. Speaking during the opening, the Prime Minister says the Inkundla Centre cost about 8 million emalangeni. The bridge which he toured before reaching the service centre cost about 14 million emalangeni, and the houses built by Montigny cost about 1.8 million emalangeni. The Prime Minister thanked Montigny for working with government in bringing development in the community.
Asibambisane siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi inkampani yakaMontigny ayiketi nje lapha ukuthi itowuvuna kuphela kodwa itowuhlanyela. Sivileke bakaMontigny ukuthi leta tindlu lesibona lapha takhiwe ngemali lesetulu. Angicale lapha nje ukuthi imali lephelele la bang-estimatele ukuthi is 8 million. Inkulu ke le mali leyo ukuthi ungakha nje fanele lenzawo isebende nebantu bemango sicela sibayisebenzise. Uma nita nento ofuna lama services ngelilanga na uhulumende kuyamkhuthaza ukuthi athi ukuthi vele lama services akawende atholakale. Utawenda watsinga tindlu tangale kangete ngathi isho kepha nje tiyafika esigizini nemakhulu la siphohlongo 1.8 million. Lo mgwaqo ke nale lo uhlanganisa imango imphakathi yakazondwako.
Says government is hoping to have fixed roads and ensured eMaswati have enough water supply by the year 2023.
Emandla vele sitawafaka ngala ka roads. Emandla sitawafaka emandini nango nje tinhlangosi letimbili lesithe uhulumende utawufaka emandla khona. Kuthi kuta 2023 idate lemcoka kakhulu kubahlonishwa. 2023 akhanze mane sekulungile konke sekukhulumeka.
The Prime Minister encourages residents to work together with the staff at the Inkundla Centre so that the service centre can provide effective services. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Langamandla with Mbongwa Dube, Mbabane.
On another note, the Prime Minister Cleopas Lameni says the destruction of infrastructure reverses government's years of development of efforts in different sectors, even in communities. Now, the Prime Minister urges communities to work together to ensure that this comes to an end. He was speaking during his tour of Mhlambanyatsi Ngundla development project, where he officially opened a service centre.
Following the continued infrastructure reverses efforts of trying to bring development to eMaswati. He says anyone who feels what government has done is not
lesakhiwo nje lesi njengoba sakhiwe sinje ukhona into ongasiboni ukuthi sihle ukhona into ocabanga ukuthi asithingakali nase ukuthiwa ukhona lofike nje washisa wathi ufuna intuthuko yena ufuna inguquko noma kumbubuka siloko akusiko kahle akakakhingani lokunye eceleni ke kubonakala simile nakuhle ngakwakha kube nje kufuna ke sibabuke labo bantu labo nasi singumango nje silana ukuthi siyembili noma siyemuva.
The Prime Minister says government's sole priority is to bring development to Eswatini. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Langamandla with Mbongwa Dube Mbabane.
Manzini Regional Administrator Chief Gije says chiefs in the region have met to deliberate on how they can best use the land which they are custodians of to ensure food security in the country. Now, Chief Gije was speaking at Mhlambanyatsi Ngundle Center where the Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini taught different programs.
In an effort to meet government halfway in uplifting the country's economy and ensure food security, chiefs in the Manzini region have met to see how they can assist. The regional administrator, Chief Gije, says most of the time land which could be used for farming is allocated to homes, something which derails the efforts of food security. He continues to say chiefs have not been given enough information on how to use the land they are custodians of.
Lokusala lokuncane ngilapho khanza ukuthi lo mhlabathi mhlambene asikafundiseke kahle ukuthi singawusebenza njani ukuze umhlabathi ubise umthelela kuphakamise i-economy yelive. Ukhansi babeshifu mhlambene unemzawo kude lokuqhamuka kuhulumende kumtshela babeshifu itolo basho si bekunedihleliso itolo uthi umuntu vela hleliso usibabe lapha ngamasimi lapha dinkomo tiyadla lapho ukhondisa ugcinela awusendi ukukhondisa nako kufuneka kudla la ivele sodinelo sibisa lokho siyahlangana nabo babe sicele labanye labangosomabhizinisi laba idingcwethi ngelwati kuze sebato sibukise including agri mana simthulanga lo mdzala but wathumela abantwana.
He says they are working with different stakeholders including the Ministry of Agriculture to assist them to come up with a solid plan on how they can help the country and uplift the economy. The post-COVID-19 recovery plan says the country has to increase local white maize production for an additional 40,000 with Mbongwa Dube Mbabane.
India's President Sri Ram Nath Kovind, speaking through India's High Commissioner in Eswatini, Radhavan Kataraman, says the world has never been in so much need of help as now. This is contained in the President's speech, which was delivered by India's High Commissioner in Eswatini to her fellow citizens in the Republic Day 2022.
On Wednesday, India celebrated the Republic Day. This marks the adoption of the Constitution of India and transition of the country to a republic on January 26, 1915. Indians living in the country commemorated the day at the residence of Indian High Commissioner in Eswatini, Radhavan Kataraman, where she read the speech of India President Sri Ram Nath Kovind, which he delivered on the eve of the Republic Day.
The world has never been in so much need of help as of now. It has been over 2 years now, and humankind is still battling with the coronavirus. Hundreds of thousands of the world economy has been reeling under the impact. The world has suffered from unprecedented misery, and surge after surge of new variants have been posing new crises. It has been an extraordinary challenge to humankind.
The President says this year India will cross a milestone when it completes 75 years of independence. He extended gratitude to the country's freedom fighters who suffered unimaginable torture and made countless sacrifices. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, with Vuminkosi Nzinisa Tempelihle.
Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, the news continues. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
does your learning journey begin? When you take up 21st century skills. When you choose a future-focused, tech-rich path to education. When you shift to an entrepreneurial mindset. The moment you choose to be an agile business leader. This is where your journey really begins. Regent Business School. Design your future.
Welcome back. You are still tuned to Eswatini TV because I'm Eswatini. This is news bulletin at 8. Now the news continues. The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade has held a sensitization workshop of the financial model.
Small and medium scale enterprises, MSME, in the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade. Mluleki Dlamini says the workshop aims to deliberate on MSME's financial opportunities.
It's part of our sensitization workshops activities under the micro, small and medium enterprise financing model. So today we will be discussing more on finance opportunities for businesses. And we've invited Center for Financial Inclusion, Eswatini, FSRA as part of those that will be presenting today. We are hoping that the business community will be able to engage with all these agencies to find out how best can they be assisted in terms of finance and what are the opportunities that are available in the market for their businesses. We're looking forward to also reach other regions as we continue with this work during the course of this year.
Representative of business people in the whole region, Johannes Manigela. One of the challenges faced by MSMEs includes tax clearance, as it requires a lot of paperwork. They applaud the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade for the workshop, saying it will come in handy as some of them were clueless about financial opportunities available.
Kuthi ngeke ngani mina ngoba phela ngiyebo ngisasemncane sekuthiwa hayi ngeke sikunike wena itender ngoba certificate se-VAT. No, phela ngidawusirejistela ngoba sengikhulile. Kwanyalo yina i-turnover yami iseseyincane.
Makayibeka uhulumende le mali lo muntu akambuki ukuthi ungumuntu lokhona kwenu ukuthi uyakhulumiseka nebantu. Kwesinye isikhathi unesagila. Afuna into letiningi lonke wena ukhona ungimanga. Khansi mhlawumbe utawuthi ibhizinisi yakho incane kakhulu make ngekukhona ukubhadala. Ngoba uteleti imphepha letifanele.
At the end of November 2021, government had dispensed 14.6 million emalangeni through the 45 million emalangeni MSME revolving fund and 6.8 million emalangeni from the small scale loan guarantee and export credit guarantee schemes. Government further allocated 4.6 million emalangeni towards subsidizing informal cross-border traders PCR COVID-19 tests. For Eswatini TV News, with Viminkosi Nzinisa Mazini.
The Eswatini Commercial Amadoda has opened a wholesale at Eswatini now. The organization says this is to help indigenous businesses with transport costs, as they will no longer have to travel far for restocking. The organization says they plan to have wholesales in all 4 regions of the country.
Eswatini Commercial Amadoda says the Eswatini wholesale is the first of more to come. Its purpose is to help indigenous businesses grow by saving on transportation costs, among other things.
Seliqalile kusebenta lisetshaneni la sisethule sokumise khona. Leli ke sithi ke ngilo lekuqala leli wholesale kepha ke singi ukuthi namanye wholesale lato sita ke bosongo business bonke balelive ku region nge-region.
Members of the Eswatini Commercial Amadoda Wholesale, Mfanagaziwa Masuku, says indigenous business people will be able to buy stock on credit.
Lebe bangakhona kuqalisa tolo tamba Swats Commercial Amadoda ngale wholesale kutaba sithi nalebe bangathole ama-loans emabhange nako konke lokho kodwa kwanyalo Swats Commercial Amadoda uma uthenga le ikhona benefit utayithola. Le wholesale ivulelwe nini emalunga eSwats Commercial Amadoda.
The wholesale chief executive officer, Spusiso Dlamini, says they want to see indigenous businesses grow.
Khona ke le program lesinayo futhi through i-committee lesibuka ukuthi how do we decentralize, sibuka ukuthi singawakha kanjani noma singawavusa kanjani ema-mini wholesales kulama regions la khona la kangwane.
Eswatini Commercial Amadoda plans to introduce technology that will enable businesses to order stock and have it delivered to them to further minimize operational costs. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosima Vimbela, Mbabane.
The Eswatini Commercial Amadoda says nothing has changed and that foreign nationals are not supposed to operate businesses. Now, the organization says it has already started taking disciplinary action against Maswati found to be leasing their shops to foreign nationals in rural areas. Now, the organization says or has clarified that this is not an attack on any particular race.
The Kingdom of Eswatini has businesses reserved for indigenous Maswati only. These include transportation and trade in rural areas. To trade in these sectors, one needs a king's consent granted through Eswatini Commercial Amadoda. The organization says it continues to note that foreign nationals are operating businesses in rural areas.
Sinayo indlela yokuthi lo muntu lesemtholaka abese uyahlawuliswa ngokwemgomo we-commercial amadoda. Nyalo nje bemnene kunetindzawo lesingadisho siyayisebenta. Futhi lenye yakhona siyisebentile kulo mnyaka lophelile. Ibe singaqali. Beqhamuka kanti sekhona nalabo bekhamba labangafana nathi ngelibali. Nabo labo abakavumeleki ukuthi nje wekuhamba.
A member of the organization, Edward Masilela, says doing business in rural areas is meant to help locals grow in business.
Laba bekunene vele lasabafakela bekuhamba. Le board ngoba ngiyo le taba sephutane nekusebenta. Isebentela commercial amadoda. Ngilo tawuphala labo bantu labo kuthi ifike enzaweni lesithe ithole itolo letingaka tinje ngoba ngile board litawuphuma ihlathatheke nalo lonke lelive ibuye yobika ihloko ukuthi awu badlangambisi sikhanze kunje yabona ngoba the key thing ngile king's consent lelento operation yesitolo the king's consent yeliswati thina sakhuluma ngemnikado king's consent uthi yini le yabona mangabe lona asivali siyahulumende le license esicela ukuthi khona sakulungisa.
Eswatini Commercial Amadoda clarified that it is not attacking any particular race or nationality, but only wants the law to be followed and have foreign nationals compete with other major players in urban areas. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosie Mavimbela, Mbabane.
Right now, let's see how markets were performing today in our financial report.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news making headlines in the world of sports. The Eswatini CAF envoys are back or on their way back in the kingdom after failing to connect their flight from Turkey to Algeria, where they were expected to face Yaskabile from Algeria in the second leg play-off in the CAF Confederations Cup this coming Thursday. It is believed that heavy storms are one of the reasons flights were suspended in Turkey.
Royal Leopard FC left the country this past Tuesday from Johannesburg to Addis Ababa in Egypt, but Leopard could not coordinate from Egypt to Turkey, then to Algeria as flights were cancelled due to bad weather conditions that are believed to be severe in Turkey. Team's public relations officer Frank Kulube explains more on the issue.
Asebabitwa kuthiwa awubekile uhambo walisachubeka uhambo seluyajika emlawujikanibele emuva sizathu tonke tindiza kuyayithekhi setivaliwe kunesitomu lesikhulu kunemvula mayithekhi lokho-ke emsakadini kube sekwenta ukuthi nobambala le qembu njengoba lifike ebusuku nga-12 ayidora lomuhla libe liyajika ngosuku lwesithathu belijika libuya khona e-Ethiopia suke ePitoli liyayijoza ukhuluma nje nyalo lisejoza iqembu selefike selilungiselela ukuthi litawubuya khona ekhaya.
Kurube concluded mentioning that they have already forwarded their concern to CAF and they are yet to get a response. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports, I'm Linda Dlamini. Babane.
Local women tops taking part of the international competitions such as the AGN League 100 and 200 meters this past weekend in the AGN League held in the Republic of South Africa.
This past weekend, majority of local athletes took part in the AGN League that was held in the Republic of South Africa. In the women category national championships winner, Pongo Mashalela in 100 meters and 200 meters, he did what he does best when once again came first in 100 meters and 200 meters respectively. Shalela says competitions like the AGN League proves to the world to do best.
South Africa besile i-competition lebese Ramsey Stadium le competition beku check i-progress ukuthi sikuphi ne-training yethu since besolo sijima from August to last week. So ngikhonile kubona i-progress yami ukuthi ngikuphi phinze ngakhona ne-qualify la for
For Eswatini TV Sports, I'm Linda Dlamini. Babane.
Kingdom of Eswatini, we've come to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 here at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We shall cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the rest of the crew here at Eswatini TV. For now, it's good night. God bless.